Asking yourself hard questions is difficult, but even more difficult is to make yourself available for the answers. You can ask yourself hard questions, but what comes back is always filtered by your mind, which is always doing the best to protect you from the pain of facing the truth. We become so accustomed to our own BS that it's nearly impossible to escape these familiar scripts and narratives that our mind serves us within milliseconds. However, big questions require deep contemplation and lots of thinking. When you start to ask yourself genuinely big questions, like who am I, or what's my purpose in life, I think you are already halfway there. Because the answers that you really seek will only appear when you are surrendered to the question, when there is no resistance to receiving the answer. And I think that's where most of the work has to be put in, right? in making yourself available for the answers in the end. This is extremely simple and yet very difficult to implement. But the good news is that you only need courage. And the courage is required only to face yourself, which should not be that difficult, right? The only thing required, really, in my opinion, is to become more intentional. You can have all your questions answered if you are only willing to receive the answers. Life is not more complicated than this. And the good thing is that once you surrender to the question, the answers will always serve you. And it's important to know that if you surrender to the question, you also implicitly invite responsibility over your own life situation. And when you claim this kind of responsibility over your own life, everything becomes simpler. Not scary, just more simple. Because you realize that it's really ultimately your sole responsibility to direct yourself towards achieving whatever outcome is meaningful to you. And this change in attitude makes all the difference. It shifts you in a way from fear to excitement. You become attracted to the unknown itself and even embrace it, if you want, for what it has to offer. There are always new discoveries. You always find something new about yourself and the world at large. And you will enter in some sort of a quest that will never end. You will not get bored again. It's like playing an infinite game with infinite levels, where the only requirement to level up is to ask better questions and be relentless in applying the answers in your life. So remember that the quality of your life is dictated by the quality of your questions. Replace these automatic and repetitive questions like, why is this happening to me? To, how can I learn a uniquely valuable lesson from this situation? Everything works in your favor if you just choose to believe so.